Our next film is a whiz-bang comedy that pits a newspaper editor against his ex-star reporter, who also happens to be his ex-wife, as she prepares to build a new life without him. And you can watch it for free on the new free streaming app Momitu. From director Howard Hawks and Columbia Pictures, this is 1940's His Girl Friday. I'm Harry Marks. You can find me on TikTok at Lobby Intros, as the host of the classic film history channel Let's All Go to the Lobby. His Girl Friday stars Cary Grant as Walter Burns, the editor of Chicago's Morning Post newspaper. When he learns that his ex-wife, Hildy Johnson, played deftly by Rosalind Russell, is getting ready to tie the knot and move to the East Coast, he devises a way to keep her close, and maybe even convince her to stay, by having her cover the upcoming execution of a convicted murderer. His Girl Friday is both an adaptation and a remake. It's based on the 1928 Broadway play The Front Page, which was turned into a 1931 film of the same name. In both versions, Hildy was a male character getting ready to settle down, and when Hawks first decided to make his own version, he cast Grant in the role right away. But then something interesting happened. One version of the story claims that Hawks was hosting a dinner party when the conversation turned to the topic of dialogue. He happened to have a copy of the original play on hand and invited a female guest to read for Hildy, while he read the Walter Burns lines. He wound up loving the playful back and forth so much, he had the script rewritten to make Hildy a woman. In another and more widely told version of the story, Hawks was holding auditions and asked his secretary to read for the role of Hildy, opposite actors reading for Burns. Hearing the character's lines come from a woman's lips rather than a man's inspired him to change the character's gender for the film. And the dialogue is quite memorable, for a few reasons. Of course, it's snappy and comes at a rapid-fire pace. This film's influence can still be felt today in films and television shows like Gilmore Girls, The West Wing, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Funny enough, The Front Page already held the record for fastest dialogue captured on film. Howard Hawks made it his mission to beat it. But speed is only half the equation. His Girl Friday also boasts an achievement it shares with almost no other film made during this time. It's one of the first pictures where the dialogue overlaps. Here the characters talk over one another the way they do in real life. And much of the dialogue's bite can be attributed to Russell herself. She'd noticed her part was thin with regard to the number and quality of the lines she'd been given, so she hired a writer to write better lines for her instead, which she had no problem sprinkling throughout filming. You see, Hawks had encouraged his actors to ad-lib whenever possible, so she simply recited the new lines that had been written for her. His Girl Friday is a wild ride from beginning to end, and one that will make every other movie you watch afterward feel as though it was playing in slow motion. And so here it is, starring Cary Grant, Rosalind Russell, Ralph Bellamy, and Gene Lockhart. From Columbia Pictures and director Howard Hawks, this is 1940's His Girl Friday, now playing for free on Momitu.